12 years ago, an 8-year-old barefoot prodigy shocked the world. Today, at 20 years old, Angelina Jordan has made a decision that completely terrified the music industry. It has been over a full decade since a barefoot 8-year-old completely shocked the globe, but her current reality looks absolutely nothing like the major labels predicted. Good evening, I am bringing you a special entertainment and investigative report tonight on a story that has completely upended the traditional Hollywood business model. 12 years ago, an 8-year-old girl walked onto a brightly lit stage in Norway without any shoes on and delivered a vintage jazz vocal performance that left the entire world absolutely speechless. Fast forward to 2026, and Angelina Jordan is no longer just that little barefoot prodigy singing viral covers on a television set. The massive global music industry, completely equipped with high-powered executives and multi-billion-dollar record labels, spent years trying to figure out exactly how to mold her into a generic, heavily produced pop sensation. They laid out incredibly lucrative, multi-million-dollar contracts on the table, fully expecting her to eagerly trade her raw, authentic soul for auto-tuned viral hooks designed for social media algorithms. But instead of excitedly signing her creative life away to a massive corporation, she did the exact opposite of what every seasoned Hollywood insider expected her to do. At just 20 years old, she executed a quiet but incredibly firm separation from the major label machinery. She definitively decided that owning her own voice and protecting her artistic integrity was worth far more than the guaranteed financial backing of a corporate giant. This incredibly bold move completely shocked the establishment, effectively declaring that she was no longer a highly profitable product for sale. But stepping outside the highly protective bubble of a massive label immediately left her vulnerable to attacks from entirely different, unexpected directions. Breaking away from the highly traditional corporate system came with an incredibly heavy and immediate price tag that the mainstream media happily exploited for views. Just as she was bravely establishing her newly independent path in the United States, an incredibly vicious and highly publicized legal conflict erupted back in her home country of Norway. Our investigative timeline shows that the national broadcasting giant, NRK, launched an aggressive financial attack following her abrupt and highly necessary withdrawal from a massively anticipated televised musical event known as the Melodi Grand Prix. The massive, government-backed network aggressively demanded over 130,000 Norwegian kroner, roughly translating to over 11,000 American dollars, in financial compensation for travel, staging, and high-end designer wardrobe expenses. They publicly turned up the heat on the young vocalist, essentially attempting to force the newly independent artist into compliance and embarrass her into total submission. The entertainment tabloids quickly grabbed hold of the story, actively trying to paint her as demanding, uncooperative, and acting like an entitled diva. However, as a reporter reviewing the facts, the reality was starkly different. Her legal team fiercely fought back against the corporate intimidation, rightfully pointing out that formal agreements were never finalized and citing extreme, undisclosed extenuating circumstances for her sudden departure. She absolutely refused to be bullied by an institutional giant, eventually forcing them to drop the entire case without a single penalty. Yet, what the mainstream media entirely missed during this chaotic news cycle was the chilling reality of why she was actually forced to drop out in the first place. While the international press was busy spinning profitable tales of a diva attitude, she was actually fighting a terrifying battle entirely behind heavily guarded closed doors. The sudden and controversial withdrawal from the Norwegian television competition was actually triggered by highly classified security warnings regarding a very unstable element that had specifically targeted her family. The intense global spotlight she had commanded for over a decade had unfortunately attracted a highly dangerous presence, forcing her management team to immediately enact extreme safety protocols. At the exact same time as this terrifying human threat emerged, devastating, uncontrollable environmental wildfires violently swept through her specific region in Los Angeles, California. Trapped directly between a severe human threat and an unpredictable natural disaster, she plunged into a total media blackout that industry insiders now grimly refer to as her silent exile. While she was hidden away fighting for her basic physical safety and the protection of her loved ones, opportunistic digital trolls seized the empty narrative. Vicious, artificial intelligence-generated rumors flooded the internet, falsely claiming she had suffered a total mental collapse or had permanently lost her incredible vocal abilities. As news correspondents, we see how dangerous the digital landscape can be. Because of her incredibly strict, highly confidential security protocols, she was entirely unable to log online and defend herself without potentially compromising her location. She was forced to watch this digital smear campaign in absolute silence. But from the darkest depths of her forced exile came an incredible creative awakening that no one in the press saw coming. The industry confidently assumed her sudden silence meant a permanent defeat, but she was secretly engineering the most profound creative resurrection of the entire decade. Locked away safely from the toxic noise of the mainstream entertainment world and the relentless online tabloids, Angelina Jordan did not seek out expensive Hollywood ghostwriters to help her bounce back into the spotlight. Instead, our reporting reveals she dove incredibly deep into the brilliant, private journals and poetry of her own grandmother, Murray Zamani. While other artists were desperately chasing the next viral digital trend, Angelina found her ultimate emotional anchor in her own family's rich historical bloodline. Those beautifully written, highly personal words became the exact blueprint she desperately needed to survive the chaos swirling around her. She expertly channeled her family's historical wisdom and her own recent personal trauma into a massive, fully independent studio project. Releasing highly anticipated albums like Secret of the Soul and Secret of Love in late 2025 and 2026, she completely redefined her signature jazz fusion sound. She wasn't just recording standard pop tracks to appease an algorithm. She was literally singing her soul back to life. This deeply personal, emotionally charged masterpiece definitively proved to the corporate executives that genuine authenticity and generational wisdom cannot ever be manufactured in a sterile boardroom. And once this incredible music was finally ready to be shared with the public, she took it to the most legendary stage on Earth with a highly controversial twist that stunned journalists everywhere. When she finally stepped back onto the massive stage for her highly anticipated live comeback, she demanded the one thing modern audiences are absolutely terrified to give up: securing a monumental residency at the historic Westgate International Theater in Las Vegas, the exact same legendary room where cultural icons like Elvis Presley once ruled the world. Was an incredible, groundbreaking achievement for a newly independent artist. It was her uncompromising rules that left veteran promoters, critics, and seasoned journalists absolutely speechless. Angelina instituted an absolute, unforgiving media blackout for her live performances. She completely banned all mobile phones, recording devices, and social media posting from the entire theater. In a modern era completely obsessed with 15-second viral clips, live streaming, and constant screen time, she forced her paying audience to actually look her in the eye. She wanted them to deeply experience the raw, unfiltered vibrations of her vintage voice without a glowing digital filter standing between them. While some critics in the media initially called the highly controversial move demanding or an arrogant ego trip, the fans quickly realized it was a desperate plea for pure, uninterrupted human connection. As a reporter sitting in that audience, I can confirm she successfully elevated a standard Las Vegas casino concert into a deeply atmospheric, almost sacred experience. She stripped away the synthetic noise and demanded pure presence. And this incredibly bold move perfectly set the massive stage for her ultimate, undeniable industry takeover. She isn't just barely surviving the incredibly cutthroat music industry. She is actively completely rewriting its fundamental DNA from the ground up as a fully independent boss. To definitively answer the question of exactly where Angelina Jordan is 12 years after she first shocked the world, the truth is she has evolved into an absolute powerhouse. The massive critical and commercial success of her deeply personal new music laid the undeniable financial foundation for her own independent brand, formerly known as Mossars. By completely retaining her highly valuable master recordings and totally bypassing traditional Hollywood gatekeepers, she proved to the entire industry that she wasn't just a generational voice. She was a highly capable visionary executive mastermind. Top record labels and executives in major cities are now staring at their digital streaming charts in absolute disbelief, constantly watching a 20-year-old consistently outmaneuver their heavily funded, multi-million-dollar corporate marketing campaigns without breaking a single sweat. She survived the notoriously difficult, often tragic transition from a beloved child star to a respected adult artist by walking directly through literal and metaphorical fire. She fought off massive broadcasting institutions, survived terrifying security crises, and reclaimed her entire narrative entirely on her own unapologetic terms. 12 years after she first stepped onto that talent show stage barefoot, she has definitively proven to the entire globe that a true artist's soul is never, ever for sale, and her independent empire is only just beginning.